pressure is growing from the Trump administration for Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell to resign. I spoke with FHFA Director Bill Pulte yesterday on this program, who's calling for the Fed chief to step down now.
We have one guy in the form of Jerome Powell who just thinks that he is maybe more important than the economy and more important than everybody else by being a stubborn mule, as President Trump has called him. So it's a big problem, and Jerome Powell needs to resign. As it relates to the building, you know, they just built the Buffalo Bills Stadium for $2.2 billion. But somehow Jerome Powell has spent $2.5 billion. I think by the time it's done, it's going to be way higher than that. So I think there needs to be an investigation. I think that maybe he lied to Congress. I think things are going to get a lot worse for Jerome Powell, and it'd just be better off if he resigned.
And Powell has been criticized for being political, also being too late on cutting interest rates, keeping borrowing costs high for Americans, and spending more than $2.5 billion on renovations at the Federal Reserve buildings. Joining me now is the Secretary of U.S. Housing and Urban Development, Secretary Scott Turner. Mr. Secretary, great to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for being here. And you've been also critical of Jay Powell. What do you want to see happen?
Well, I want to see responsibility and not negligence. I don't want to see personal vendettas. The American people deserve to be able to afford to buy a house. First-time home buyers, refinancing. So we need interest rates to come down. The president, Congress, you know, from a fiscal standpoint, are bringing costs down. Now, from a monetary standpoint, we need interest rates to come down. Even at HUD, we're taking down regulations, freeing up developers, freeing up localities to build. We need 7 million units of housing in our country, Maria. And so when interest rates remain high, this is crippling building, and it's costing the American taxpayer. And
that is the reason that we're seeing the housing market really unable to participate in what we're expecting or looking at to be something of a boom in the economy right now.
Yeah, you'd think the median home price right now in America is over $400,000. That's a 21% increase since 2023.
And that's the median.
That's the median.
Yeah.
And so you have people, you know, middle America, middle-class families working hard to take care of their families every day, having to spend 30 to 50% of their earnings just on their mortgages or their rents. And so they can't even afford to buy a home if they wanted to. And so I think that Mr. Powell needs to bring down interest rates. And if he can't bring them down, do you know what? Step down so that someone responsible and who cares about the American people can get this economy going.
So you think if he cuts rates on the short end, it will impact long-term rates, mortgage rates?
I do. You know, obviously they don't set mortgage rates. But as you know, interest rates have an impact on mortgage rates. And so inflation is down right now.
Yeah.
So there's no need to keep the interest rates high. The consumer, the CPI is down right now. Eggs, groceries, the price of energy, oil, gas is down. Bring the interest rates down so the economy can continue to thrive at even a greater measure. And so I think it's a responsibility. You're the head of the Fed. You see what's going on in the economy. You see what the president and Congress is doing to bring our fiscal house back in order. And so to me, it's being negligent. It's almost a rebellion, if you will. In 2018, Powell brought down interest rates during the Biden administration.
Right.
And then now you have he won't even bring it down when the economy is thriving. And so I don't understand it, but I think that responsibility and transparency and the president, as you know, is going over to the Fed today.
Yeah, well, we'll see if next week at the meeting, Jay Powell keeps bringing up tariffs and starts talking about looking for, you know, inflation under a rock as a result of tariffs, which, of course, is non-existent.
Right.
But you just mentioned something I want to build on, and you said that we need, what, 9 million or 7 million units of new housing, because there's this supply shortage. Where across the country are the most shortages? What can you tell us in terms of this shortage of housing units in America?
Well, it's across the country. And when you think about workforce or affordable housing for the American people, 7 million units is a lot. The cost is too high. Supply is down. And so what we've been doing is, one, bringing down regulations from a federal standpoint, and then encouraging localities, states, and cities to bring down their regulations to free up development, to free up building. We need single-family homes. We need multifamily homes, duplex, manufactured housing. We've signed an MOU with Secretary Burgum to identify federal lands to build. So we're doing what we're supposed to do from an administration standpoint. And so Powell needs to bring these interest rates down so that the American people can afford to buy a home.
Yeah, I love what you're doing. Meanwhile, I want to get your take on this small provision in the big, beautiful bill, which can save Americans thousands of dollars every year on their taxes. President Trump officially bringing back the mortgage insurance premium deduction. in that bill after former President Biden allowed the provision to expire back in 2021. Before the bill expired, Americans claimed $65 billion in deductions at an average of just under $1,500 per qualified taxpayer. So what are you expecting in terms of change here?
Well, I'm so glad, one, that the bill passed, and two, that for the posterity of our nation and provisions such as this, you're talking about the mortgage insurance premium. And now that the borrowers can deduct this from their taxes, that's a win for the American people all across the board. And when you think about that, when you deduct this from your taxes and now to grow equity in your home quicker, that's a win for the American people. As you know, having a home, owning a home is the #1 source to grow wealth for a family. And so I'm so grateful for the president and Congress for passing this provision. I think it's a big, not just a win, but a great advantage for the American people.
And, you know, I think part of the issue on the affordability for buying a home, constructing a home, is the price of the materials, right? Lumber and steel and all of these things. Those prices are also down.
Yes. And so now when you bring these costs down and you bring the supply up and you allow American people, first-time home buyers, people who want to buy a new home, people who want to sell a home, as the interest rates remain high, people who want to sell their houses are not selling them. One, if you sell it, you got to buy something else.
Yeah.
Two, if you sell it, the amount of people that want to buy your home is decreased because interest rates are too low or too high. And so this is all working together. And so from a fiscal standpoint, from a monetary standpoint, we have to be on the same page to get America going.
Makes a lot of sense. Secretary, you recently sent a letter to the Atlantic City Housing Authority,
yes,
informing them that they are in substantial default of the Housing Act of 1937. Tell us about that.
So the Atlantic City Housing Authority, like all public housing authorities, we're holding them accountable. There's been over 75 compliance issues that we've had. After a 2023 audit, we found that the living conditions of people there's mold, there's no air, there's no heat, there's no bid contracts. And as the stewards at HUD, and that's what we call ourselves, we're stewards of American taxpayer dollars, but we're also stewards for those who we take care of and those that live in public housing authorities. I've visited with residents at the Atlantic City Housing Authority, and the things that I've heard and the things that I've seen have caused us to send notice that you're going to be under substantial default. Right now, they're in a dispute period. They have a 10-day period to respond to us. But $20 million that was going to this housing authority will now be back under HUD oversight. The governance at this housing authority was negligent. There was no transparency, and that's not what we're about. We're mission-minded at HUD, and this mission is to take care of the American taxpayers and also to be good stewards over their money.
I love the idea of mission-minded, yes, and you're remembering that in all of these policies. When would you expect some loosening of the supply situation and these issues that you're talking about in the housing market? How long is this agenda taking you?
Well, I think it's a right now thing. I mean, you've seen over the last 6 months how quickly the president and his administration,
yeah,
we've been tearing down barriers, taking down regulations, making things more affordable, eggs, groceries, gas, energy. And so it's right now. And I think if we do the right thing and if we have people who are in responsibility, like Powell, to do the right thing and bring interest rates down, that it could start moving very quickly.
Secretary, it's great to have you this morning.
Nice to see you.
Thanks so much. Secretary Scott Turner. Stay with us. We'll be right back.